Hello and welcome from Cologne in Germany, and Cologne is known as a radio city, and every year the British Forces Broadcasting Service, or for short BFBS, have their annual convention of the people that actually work as staff presenters, sound engineers at BFBS in Cologne, and I had the big pleasure and the big honor to be part of it this year. And next to us now is one of the big voices, the big characters of BFBS Radio, TV and radio, Richard Astbury. Nice to meet you, Richard.
Very, very good to see you, Jürgen.
What does it from you mean to come back to Cologne every year to be part of this?
It means a huge lot because I was 10 years altogether in Cologne in the 70s, and then I had a bit of a break, and then I came back, and I was here again from 80 to 85. So Cologne means a lot to me. In fact, although I don't speak that good German, I think I know Cologne better than I know London.
You mean London as part of BFBS or the city centre itself? Yeah, of course, London is much bigger, isn't it?
Yeah, the city itself, yeah. So I have a great fondness for Cologne and also for Kölsch. Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Enjoy this one. When did you start working for BFBS, actually?
I first joined BFBS on the 9th of May, 1969. My father was a bank manager, and all my family were working with banks. But I actually left school as a complete and utter dunce. I never passed any exams. And I left school at 17, and I went to drama school. I decided I want to go into the theatre. So I went into the theatre. I then worked for BBC Television as a prop man. I don't know whether you know what props are, but the scenery and pictures and pistols items, yeah. So I did that for 3 years, and it took me a long time before anybody would actually want me and recognize me, because the BBC said, no, you don't have any experience. But they then introduced me to BFBS, and so I applied to join BFBS, and 3 months later I was living on the island of Cyprus, the island of Aphrodite. And many happy memories, a very, very long time ago. And I worked for BFBS altogether for 40 years.
40 years?
40 years, yeah.
You can fill a book with stories, I'm sure.
Well, I could, but when you get to almost 70, your memory is not as good as it was. Although I can remember things that happened maybe in 1969, I can't remember what I had for breakfast today,
But you're not the only one who can't remember that. I'm sure I wouldn't remember that either. So. Did you always want to become a presenter for television or radio?
Well, it wasn't so much that. I knew that I wanted to go into the entertainment industry. That's what interested me. And then a friend of mine who eventually ended up as producer and scriptwriter for Doctor Who on the BBC. We were at drama school together. He said, Richard, you should go into the radio. So I decided I would go into the radio with advice from him. And it was good advice because I joined BFBS in 1969, and I didn't stop laughing until I left. But now I'm still laughing. So
exactly, because
it was a wonderful life and a fantastic organisation to work for.
I can imagine, and also what you have been doing over the many years for the British forces, not only for them, but also for the German listeners, for instance, here in Germany. You had many more German listeners than British forces listeners here.
I had a very good friend who worked for Polydor Records, part of Deutsche Grammophon, and in the mid-70s they did a survey, and they discovered that in those days, between 5 and 8 million Germans listened to us every day, which was more than the British Forces audience. So, I knew that. And even today, even now, and we're talking about the end of March 2014, I still get emails from German listeners to say, are you still there? Hello, and I used to listen to you learning my English when I was at school. So it means a lot to me, that does. It really does, yeah.
You retired I'm retired. 5 years ago now?
Yeah, I retired 5 years ago, after 40 years. And it was a shame, really. I would have gone on working, but they changed the network. They changed BFBS 2, which is what I was more suitable for in those days, in the latter days of my career. and they decided that they couldn't find any more work for me, so I left. But now, it was probably a good thing because I'm enjoying the good life. And,
exactly. You are. I found you on the internet, on the website. You are producing Esther's marmalade.
Yes, my mother used to make marmalade, and I've took it a bit more seriously. I've made it for over 20 years, and for the last 3 years, I've gone in for this big international festival. In the north of England. And this year, I'm proud to say that I actually won a gold medal. So
wow! Congratulations for that.
Lots of practice makes perfect, they say.
Next year, when you come, bring us a jar.
Yeah, of course I will.
Bring one for everybody. So you.
Well, this year I made 254 jars of marmalade. So
wow.
I sell it at the local shop where I live. So there's enough to go around. I'll bring you one.
Fantastic. Of course, you have been around the world with the BFBS stations.
Yes, indeed, I have.
To how many have you been?
Well, I visited more than I actually worked on. I mean, I visited BFBS Hong Kong. I worked briefly in Gibraltar and in the Falkland Islands. I worked for 8 months in Belize in Central America. As I told you earlier, I spent 12 years in Germany. That's 2 years in Berlin, and an aggregate of 2 lots of 5 years in Cologne. Cyprus, I did 2 postings, and in 1978, I closed BFBS Malta.
Amazing, and I must tell the listeners and the viewers that in August I got that soundbite from when you closed BFBS Malta from the engineer of the station at that time.
That's amazing. That's quite incredible.
That's amazing how the power of internet. This is really amazing.
It is actually. Yeah.
You have met a lot of people over the years through your profession as a presenter on radio and television. Who was the most interesting one you have ever met?
Well, one of the most amazing experiences actually was when I had just arrived in Cologne. It was in my second year, in 1972, I got a telephone call from a promoter. I was just going home, actually. It was about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the telephone rang. I picked up the phone, and it was, "Oh, hello, Richard." I said, "Hello. Can you do me a big favor? We have a new artist. We are doing a promotion. No one is coming to it. It is at the Hilton in Düsseldorf. There will be a few little things to eat, dead things on sticks, and some vino. Please come." So I said, "Oh gosh." So I got in my car, my old Volkswagen Variant, which was new in those days, and I set off for Düsseldorf. This was in the early days of 1972, and I was introduced to a young artist, and his name was Elton John.
Amazing.
Little did I know that many years later he would become Sir Elton John and be quite so successful and famous. And I met him in those very early days when very few people had even heard of him. He was very slim. He even had a little bit of hair. And I had long hair, and a really old-fashioned jacket and a tie that looked dreadful. And a press man took a picture and he sent it to me in the post, a black and white photograph. And I've still got this photograph today.
Fantastic memories.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
A nice story. Thanks for sharing that with us. You have also been at the Eurovision Song Contest, not as a performer, but as an interviewer for BFBS.
Yeah.
What was the link to that? Why did you do that?
Well, my very first... This was initiated originally by a guy who is very sadly dead now, called John Russell. He was my first program director in Cologne. He was very interested that BFBS, particularly in Germany, should do more international things and have a bigger profile in the radio industry in Germany. And so he started to make sure that we attended all these big international events, and one was the Eurovision Song Contest. And we were covering the Eurovision Song Contest from the late 60s. I arrived in 1971, and I was asked if I would produce a presenter called Terry James. And he was doing the commentary for my first one, which was in Luxembourg, in the early 1970s. Don't ask me the year.
72 or
It was,
73?
yeah, and I remember it was the person who won it was a very attractive lady called Anna-Marie David.
You wouldn't believe, I met her last Sunday.
Did you really?
Yes.
Never.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember, I don't remember the name of the song in German, but in French it was Tu te reconnaître.
Du bist da und das ist wunderbar.
Absolutely fantastic song. That was my first experience in Luxembourg of the Eurovision Song Contest.
Amazing. You did it then again in the 80s.
Well, I produced it in those early days. 70. When was it? 73.
73. 73. Yes.
73. I did more. I think I've done altogether 6 Eurovision Song Contests. And it's a very difficult thing now to remember which ones. I produced Andrew Pastuna at Den Haag, at The Hague.
Was it 1980?
Was it 1980?
Johnny Logan winning it?
Very good. I think it might have been Johnny Logan, yes. I also did the Eurovision Song Contest in the 80s. I did Germany, the Rudi Sedelmeier Halle.
Which is still there.
Still, is it really?
Ago, yeah.
I went back to Luxembourg again. I don't know whether the order is right now. In these years, I'm moving around a little bit.
84, that was Luxembourg.
Yeah, I did 2 in Sweden.
85, it was one of
Very good. You're more of an expert than I am.
It was the Scandinavium that was where you were. Because
And I seem to remember there was a band called the Herres.
The Herres.
The Herres, yeah.
Diggy-loo, diggy.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And the last one was also in Sweden. I had promised, or I was the program director, so I arranged to take Richard Nankivell, my good colleague and friend, to Sweden, and we would do I would produce it, he would do the commentary, and I had a program called Pop Around Europe, which went out every Sunday, and I said, right, we will do the commentary. We will fly then early the next morning from Stockholm. We will fly to Düsseldorf, arrive in Düsseldorf early. I will have lots of time to prepare all my recordings, and I will go on the air the next day after the Eurovision Song Contest with all the actuality and all the interviews that I had done at the party afterwards. When we arrived in Stockholm to prepare our rehearsals, we were told that that's it. There are no more flights in or out of Stockholm because there's a strike. So I said to Richard Nankivell, I don't care, we're going to do it. I'm going to go on the air on Sunday, and I don't care how we do it, I'm going to get back to Cologne. So after the party, after the Eurovision Song Contest in Stockholm, we hired a car, we drove through the night to Copenhagen, and we got on a flight from Copenhagen to Düsseldorf, and I got to Cologne 1.5 hours before the program. And the staff, the German staff, they were fantastic. They helped me, they edited, and 2 minutes before the program, it was ready and edited and compiled, and I went on the air and we did it. I think there's a recording still in the archive somewhere of that Eurovision Song Contest program that I did, which must have been in May, maybe in April 1985, because 1 month later I left BFBS and I went to work for a commercial radio station called Riviera Radio, which was in Ventimiglia in Italy, or near Ventimiglia. Yeah.
Why did you leave BFBS for that radio station?
I felt I'd done the same job for 5 years as program controller, but I felt I needed a change. And I was at the Midem Festival in Cannes, and I was approached at about 2 o'clock in the morning by the new managing director of Riviera Radio, asking me if I would like to take the job. So I said, listen, you're drunk, I'm drunk, I'll talk to you in the morning over breakfast. And I saw him the next morning over breakfast, and I said, do you remember Aidan Day, his name was, what you said to me? He said, yes, if you want to come with me, we'll tour down to Italy, and I'll show you the radio station, you think about it. So I had a girlfriend with me, and talked to her about it, and I came up with an idea that I would take, if possible, a sabbatical from BFBS for 1 year, and at the end of it I could go back. I was a bit worried because I went to the boss, who I wasn't getting on very well with, and I said, is it possible for me to have a year off? And he said, a year? You can have 2 years if you like. So I suddenly started to get a bit worried. But anyway, I went back after 18 months and to BFBS, having had an amazing experience on the Italian Riviera, running this radio station, which is now actually based in Monaco, in Monte Carlo.
So it's still existing?
Still on the air. Riviera Radio, it's called, yeah.
Well, you were known for pushing, or not pushing, but maybe playing European music on BFBS, which is normally it's more British orientated because the British Forces Broadcasting Service. Why did you go for this European approach?
I had no choice. I was told by the man John Russell, who I mentioned earlier in connection with the Eurovision Song Contest, and wanting to have an international integration with the other German radio stations, Richard, I want you to take over a pop program. I want you to start it. It was in 1972. We're going to call it Pop Around Europe, and you're going to do it. I said, but I don't know anything about international records. He said, you'll learn. And I did that program for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years.
Amazing.
Again, many German listeners. And it was an extremely good thing, because it helped me a lot to become known in the music industry. And if you were known in the music industry in Germany in those days, then you used to get the interviews, you see.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's how it goes for me, because you were my animation for doing this what I'm doing now. Because I'm going to Eurovision every year, and we do the interviews, and that's thanks to you.
Oh, well, that's nice of you, Jürgen. Thank you very much.
It's amazing. You also hosted classical music programs on BFBS.
Yes, I did.
Astor's Classics was
Astor's Classics, yeah. I did that for 10 years, every weekend. It was a new experience. Again, someone said, Richard, you should do some classical music. I said, I don't know anything about classical music. He said, you'll soon learn. So I started in a very small way. Also, early in those days, I can't remember when it was, but I used to take holiday from BFBS and fill in for another presenter, a former BFBS presenter, called Nick Bailey, who is now working for Classic FM. And when he went on holiday, I did Classic FM, which is a classical music station in England, and very successful too. So I did that for a little while.
Amazing. But then television came also into your life. You've been hosting TV programs.
Yes,
on BFBS TV, that is.
I did that for a long time as well. Yeah, what they used to call BFBS Reports. It's now called BFBS News, and I got a bit old, a bit long in the tooth for that, and so I got a bit fat, and so I didn't look nearly as good as the current presenter, who is a young blonde lady. I couldn't compete, and now it's every day on BFBS television. It's called BFBS News. I did it only 3 times a week, so it was a good experience, very good experience.
What do you prefer, the television or the radio side of your career?
I think radio is more fun. You can get away with a lot more. I also did 2 programs for BBC One. One with Princess Margaret and one with Prince Philip. That was for the anniversary of 50th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day.
Amazing. So you've met the royalties as well.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I was very fortunate to be given the MBE by Her Majesty the Queen for broadcasting to the British forces. That was a great honour.
That's amazing. That's really.
I think there was a lot of luck involved, actually.
No, but I think you over 40 years you've been entertaining, informing the people, and you really deserve that.
Well, I was very lucky. I was very lucky to be working for a wonderful organisation with wonderful colleagues in work that I really enjoyed, Yeah.
You have a son, Andy Astbury.
Yes.
He's also with BFBS?
He's with BFBS in Germany, working in northern Germany on the Lüneburger Heide at BFBS in what they call the Roundhouse. And he will be there, I hope for his sake, that he'll be there until BFBS eventually closes, when the British forces move out of Germany in 2015, which is very sad. He's just actually done 4 months in Afghanistan at Camp Bastion, working for the British forces there.
Though we shall all miss BFBS from the FMC in Germany.
Oh, I mean, we're here for this party to remember BFBS, the days of BFBS Cologne. I mean, the BFBS days were just fantastic.
Fantastic, even as
particularly in Cologne, where we are now.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Do you think that BFBS now is going the right way, the good way, in what it's doing?
It's very different now. It's very difficult for an old person like me, nearly 70, to criticise. To be honest with you, I do listen occasionally on digital, because BFBS is on digital in England. The music is okay, but it's not quite the same music as I used to play and enjoy when I was a young presenter, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to judge, really.
Apart from creating the Astor's marmalade,
Yeah.
what do you do now in your retirement?
I do. Well, in the winter I make marmalade, and in the summer I go on holiday, and also I do a lot of gardening. I'm a passionate gardener. I have a nice garden, and it's a lot of work. So
can you imagine?
And I do quite a lot of cycling, because we're on the south coast of England, just near to the sea, the Solent and the Isle of Wight in the distance.
Okay.
And it's a very nice place to live. So I do quite a lot of cycling.
Amazing. That's
I need
nice.
to get a bit of weight off, and
It's the winter.
I need to stop drinking the Kölsch.
When you go back home to UK, but we're going to have another Kölsch tonight. Astor's or Richard, thank you very much to talk to us.
Das ist mir ein Vergnügen, lieber Jürgen. Dankeschön.
Okay, all the best of luck to you, and see you next year.
Danke, hoffentlich.
Again in Cologne.
Yeah. Thank you very much.